Going live. This Hangout on air is live and direct. I'm going to put up my little thing today. I like my little thing. Of course, it covers up the cats if I put that on, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. There it is. Cover up the cats. Hello, everybody. We got a lively house going on. We got Brett and Kevin, and Troy appears to be sort of here, like he's here, but he went to sleep. And let's see, Dorothy, Nick G is back. Rose from Australia is here. Sandy, Tacky Ted, who's making a bad habit out of this. And bringing up the rear, we've got Twin Lakes Images, Mark. Uh-oh, they can hear me. No video for Dorothy. Let's see.
Tell her to do a refresh.
Tacky Ted's not seeing the video either.
Well, I'm seeing it on your website.
So if I tell him, that doesn't help.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
I think. Is that a true statement?
Yes, that's true.
Slow, poor web design. Who's got slow, poor web design? Brett? Why is Brett complaining about my web design, Steve? That isn't very nice.
Okay. Brett just got the video. So
Brett, why are you complaining about my web design? That's not very nice. All right. I'm going to bring something up. I'm going to actually show you my screen for a moment here. Let's do this. There we go. All right. If you go on your Mac right now, go into the, let's see, hold on the Option key, go down to System Information. You'll get this screen. Pull down the software icon as you see here. Click on Installation. And look for something called Incompatible Kernel Extension Configuration Data 3.28.2. If you have this file, if you have that, that means that Apple has disabled your Ethernet driver for your Mac, which they did it for all of ours. Anyway, oh, you were talking about, Brett was talking about his bank. Okay. So, yeah, I have no Ethernet today because I have this lovely update. They pushed it to Steve's Mac, my Mac, my MacBook Pro, my MacBook. I haven't checked the other spare MacBook, Steve. It probably has it too.
Probably.
But yeah, this is nice, huh? No Ethernet. So if you've had any trouble with Ethernet, that's what's going on. Dorothy, actually, Dorothy, do you run yours on Ethernet? Because I thought you did. Your MacBook, you would probably have an Ethernet. Isn't the top of my head cut off, Steve? Looks like it is to me.
Not for me.
Okay, well then that's all that matters. All right, enough about that. We're going to get the show going. Maybe I'm glad I don't have Ethernet right now. Okay, yeah. Well, I like to do the shows on Ethernet on account of that's the better way to do it. But let's see. Let's do a check here. I haven't checked on anything. Let's just see if it works. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Take a look. Hey, this is Allison. Why is it? Okay, hang on. Preferences, listen. Back output. Want that back through the Shure MVI. I have it in the Shure. Why are you doing that? Okay, why is that not playing? Oh, there we go.
That's loud.
Hey, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast. Host.
That's pretty loud.
Yep. I can barely hear it. I believe you though, because I saw the little lights go way up. Why would that be? Let me go take a look. I did. Oops. It changed last week, but it would still be the same. Just pass through to here.
Kevin had a good question.
Do you want me to fix the loudness first, or you want to ask me another question right while I'm trying to fix that?
Go ahead. Fix.
Okay. I've got my Shure MVI, go to my equalizer, go to the dynamics processor. I've got the volume doubling turned off. That goes to pass through. And I think my, let's see, and my microphone, let's see what I've got. So I've got the HOA input. I have no idea why that would be loud. That HOA input. And if I open up loopback. Okay, let's see, loopback shows. HO input is Amadeus Pro. What if I could change playback Well, no, but if I change the playback volume, I literally can barely hear Amadeus Pro. Let me ask the rest of the audience, was that loud in playback to you guys? Is that like painfully loud, or you can stand it loud, Steve?
Below pain, but on the border of uncomfortable.
Okay. See this. Hey, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast. Sounds completely normal to me.
That wasn't as bad for some reason. You didn't change anything?
Nope.
Okay.
I just looked at things.
Just go with it.
Okay, good. All right. What else was going on?
So Kevin asked the question regarding this latest little bug, Ethernet bug with El Capitan. Does it apply to Yosemite as well?
I don't think it does, but I don't know that for sure. I know I had Pat Dengler check it on one of her Yosemite machines, and she didn't have it. But I know people who are on El Capitan who also don't have it. So not quite sure. What was that? Oh, cats again.
There's Gracie.
You can see her? Yes. Oh, here comes Ada. She's about to fly over from this side. All right. Nice and peaceful here. Okay. Okay. Brett says it didn't sound any louder. So I think you're imagining things, Steve.
Well, Kevin said it did. So we have...
Kevin wrote exactly what you said.
Oh,
Kevin is highly suspicious as a witness.
I can't imagine Kevin agreeing with me just out of course.
All right. We're going to go ahead and record. Say goodnight, Gracie. All right. Here we go.
She actually is sleeping behind you. the other side.
She. All right. Well, say goodnight to Gracie. Okay. Goodbye. This was on the second time when Steve said it sounded better, Brett said. Okay. Well, I didn't change anything. All right. Good. Glad it sounds good. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Sunday, February 28th, 2016, and this is show number 564. This week's Chit Chat Across the Pond was really interesting. I had Barry Folk on the show to talk about mobile device management, also known as MDM. Trust me, it's way more interesting than it sounds. You might have heard that acronym, though, recently in connection with the Apple versus FBI case. And because the county of San Bernardino that owned the phone that was assigned to the terrorists to attack their employees had that phone under MDM, but did not configure it properly so that they could get into the phone. Barry walks us through how MDM works and what he's allowed to do to protect his company's data and even medical information that has to meet the stringent HIPAA requirements. I really encourage you guys to do a search for Chit Chat Across the Pond in your favorite podcatcher so you can listen to this episode and get all of the Chit Chat Across the Ponds as they come out. It was a great conversation with Barry, and I learned a lot. Well, also this week, I had the great pleasure to hang out with my good friend Chris Ashley on the SMR podcast. Rob and Rod, the other two hosts, were both out, but Chris and I went through the latest news and intricacies of the Apple versus FBI case. Actually, I like to think of it as the FBI versus the people and their privacy and security case. Anyway, we also discussed what a dummy Chris is for going to see Zoolander 2 instead of Deadpool, and we talk about the new hotness that came out of the Barcelona's Mobile World Congress. Check it out at smrpodcast.com. Chris called this episode Chit Chat Across DC. Well, before we get too far in, I want to go on a rant about a big boo-boo Apple did yesterday and today. Apple has a built-in anti-malware tool called XProtect. This is a great tool. It runs in the background, keeps you safer online, keeps you safe by blacklisting things. So far, this sounds terrific, doesn't it? Well, yesterday, Andrew Dickinson posted in our Facebook group over at podfeet.com/Facebook that Apple had pushed out an update that actually blacklisted Apple's own Ethernet driver. Andrew and Joe LaGreca went back and forth and were able to really help each other out thanks to the new group. I read happily that they were working together, and I didn't think too much about diving into the actual problem they were discussing because there was a fix out and it was all happy joy over there. Now, I suppose you could say this is a bad mistake, but mistakes do happen. We must forgive, humans, but there's two parts to this mistake that Apple made that make me really angry beyond the original error. I was not home when this story broke on Saturday morning, according to Mac Rumors, but this afternoon, on the 28th, a day later, all of our Macs got pushed the bad update. I'd like to know why on earth Apple is still pushing this update if they knew the problem was there yesterday. We know they know about it because they published a fix for it before they pushed the update to me. Worse yet, the Apple solution page is riddled with problems. First of all, it's a very non-Muggle friendly solution. It involves issuing a terminal command via sudo. Secondly, they neglect to mention that sudo requires an admin password, so the instructions aren't even complete. The solution requires you to have working Wi-Fi, which is kind of a big assumption. The company I used to work for, we only had wired Ethernet, so how would you get this update? Third, in those instructions where they've confirmed that you have no network connectivity, they actually say, go back to this article on Safari and copy-paste the command. Well, how the heck are you supposed to do this command if you have no internet access? Anyway, I decided not to do the fix before the live show is being recorded because I was afraid it might not be as smooth. We might run into some problems with Wi-Fi, but if I do the fix, maybe it breaks everything. So at least I have working Wi-Fi right now, and I hope it holds up. And anyway, I will try the working Ethernet solution tomorrow to all of our Macs. I got to tell you, I'm not a happy Apple customer about this. 10.5. Yeah, I don't know, Ted, whether it affects Yosemite or not. I have not heard of anybody on Yosemite, but I have not an exhaustive search. But I know, let's see, you and Pat Dengler tested for me, and both on Yosemite, and did not see it. So teach us we can live without Ethernet. Yeah, that's great. Check this opening and see how it sounds. Hi, this is Allison. It's a little bit late. Looks late to me. Yeah, just a smidge late. There you go. All right, let's bring you here. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go to right here. All right. I need this link next. Right. Righty. Okay, here we go. Right. Actually, so Kevin, you're saying Apple's assumption Wi-Fi is pervasive is bad once you leave a metropolitan area, but actually in the metropolitan areas, that's where you have a lot of congestion. You probably don't want to use Ethernet there either. I mean, I got 25 hotspots near my house. I don't want to use Ethernet. Wi-Fi. I want to use Ethernet. And also in a lot of companies, at least the company I work for, they don't have Wi-Fi. There's no Wi-Fi at all for regular people. So I don't think that's a good idea. Mr. New joined us. Hello. All right. Let me keep going here. Last July, I told you the story of my neighbor's 2012 MacBook Air that suffered an early death when her baby daughter knocked a glass of water over into the keyboard. The power key was shorted out such that shortly after the Mac successfully booted up, it would shut itself down. I tore that thing down to the bare metal and I couldn't fix it because it turns out you can't disassemble the keyboard from what they refer to as the top case. Now, top case sounds funny because it's a keyboard, which feels to me like it's on the bottom, but it's the top half of the bottom half of a laptop. Anyway, at the time, prices for a replacement top case were so high, it wasn't worth fixing the Mac. It was only a 128 gigabyte model and an i5, so the Mac wasn't worth that much, so it didn't end up being financially feasible to replace that part. My neighbor said they had a friend who would sell it for parts, so I gave it back to them, but it really bugged me that I had to give up on that. It was such a sweet little machine. Well, fast forward to a few weeks ago when my friend Diane tells me that her 2010 MacBook Air has a bum display. The right half of the screen is blank, and the place she took it to have it diagnosed said it would cost $600 to get it repaired. 2010 MacBook Air, probably not worth it. But then I had an idea, an awful idea. What if my neighbor hadn't sold theirs off for parts yet? Maybe I could make a Frankenstein Mac. I called my neighbor, and as I suspected, that grand plan they hadn't gone off, so they had not sold off the parts. Diane offered them $200 for their waterlogged Mac, and we had a deal. Note that I did all of this not knowing whether the parts were even compatible, but it sounded like fun, so why not give it a try? Worst case, I waste my time and Diane's $200. She thought it sounded worth the bet. I went over to iFixit, of course, and I printed out the instructions for both MacBook Airs. I don't often print things out to paper, but when doing something as complex as removing every single piece out of a MacBook Air and tearing its monitor off, I invoke the Dave Hamilton process. He tapes every part and every screw to the corresponding instruction page, and when you have to put it back together, you simply go through the instructions backwards and the parts will be easily identifiable, including all those little tiny screws. I'd ripped my neighbor's Mac apart 4 times trying to fix it, but I was sure I'd forget a step if I did not follow the Dave Hamilton maneuver. Next, it was time to enlist some help. I bribed Pat Dengler, yourmacdoctor.com, into coming over to help. I offered her a Moscow Mule, which is this really good drink Kyle turned me on to with vodka and ginger beer and lime. And then Steve said he would grill her a steak if she came over. Now, in all truth, she would have done it just for the fun of tearing a Mac apart, but she did accept our bribes. First of all, Pat and I had a blast doing this. I have to say that Pat was a recalcitrant employee, though. She was constantly questioning whether she really had to tape every part down. She's kind of an anarchist. When we tore the glass off of an iMac at her house, we had to get down to the hard drive. She didn't track any of the parts along the way. Anyway, to get to the point that we could swap the monitor from my neighbor's Mac to Diane's, we had to remove the logic board, the RAM, the I/O board, the battery, the fan, and had to disconnect a whole lot of teensy-weensy little tiny connectors. Once you've got all that out, you take 4 final screws out that let you pull the display off. It's kind of terrifying, but it was fun. Anyway, we took a photo of the 2 Macs right before they got their displays yanked, and there's nothing left in there except the speakers. Actually, that's not true. The trackpad was still in there. Anyway, Diane's Mac would be the host machine receiving the new display. So we used those instructions to put it all back together. And guess what? It worked. We were pretty darn proud of ourselves. But the next day I had a thought. Diane's Mac is pretty old, right? It's a 2010 and it's an Intel Core 2 Duo, but it had a 256 gig SSD. As I mentioned earlier, my neighbor's Mac is a 2012, so it's got an Intel Core i5, so much faster, but its SSD is only 128 gig. So I thought, what if we could put the Core i5 logic board in Diane's new Frankenstein machine, but keep her 256 gig SSD? It was time to go back in. I pulled it all apart again, taping every part down pat. And the first thing I checked was whether Diane's 256 gig SSD would fit properly into the newer i5 logic board. Sadly, the connector was different. Too bad. Well, then I started thinking, well, it'd probably still be better to have an i5, even if it only had 128 gigs of RAM, especially since this Mac was going to be used for some very light travel needs for Diane. It sounded like that was a better trade-off. I pulled the Core 2 Duo out of Diane's Mac and was delighted to find out that the i5 logic board fit perfectly. All the connectors and screws were perfectly lined up. Then I noticed that the cable that goes from the logic board to the I/O board had just a slightly different connector. That's all right. We can work with that. That just means all I have to do is take the I/O board from my neighbor's Mac along with the cable, and we'd be in business. So we'd have my neighbor's logic board, I/O board, and SSD and the cable between it, and those would all go into Diane's Mac, with the top case being from Diane's Mac and the monitor from my neighbor's Mac. You with me? Well, the I/O board has I should mention the I/O board has the power connector, USB, and I think the audio connectors on that too. I took a look at the 2 I/O boards and they were almost the same, but remember Apple changed the power connector in that time frame? Not a problem though, we can use the new power adapter too. By this time, you've realized pretty much the only original part in Diane's Mac is the top case. Oh well, I guess we hadn't swapped the speakers, but that was about it. But sadly, this didn't work. Apple had moved the screw hole that holds the I/O board in place just this itsy bitsy little bit to the left and slightly down, just far enough that the power connector would not fit in through the case and the USB port didn't line up properly. In the words of John F. Braun, a big fist shake to Apple for that one. I did ask Steve if he could just cut those I/O cables in half and just tape them together, but he wouldn't do it. Then I asked him, how about if you just drill a new hole in the I/O board so the holes would line up? But he wouldn't do that either. Well, it's a good thing he makes a darn good steak dinner because that's all he did for us. Anyway, it wasn't all sad news at the end. I have sold the SSD and the logic board, and let's see, I think I've made about $80 there. I did have a sale for the I sold the SSD and the I/O board, but the logic board, the guy who bid on it and won is just a liar. He's not coming through, so I'm going to have to cancel that sale. I'm going to have to sell it again. But I think it's looking like I'm going to be up about $250 for the parts when we're done with selling them all on eBay. But anyway, it was a great adventure. Diane's really happy with her spare Mac, and my neighbor's happy because she got some money, and Pat and I had fun and had steak and a Moscow Mule, thanks to Steve. All right. Oh, Steve wants me to tell you a story. Let me ask this first. Have any of you guys see on the news a story about a unicorn being caught in California running on a highway? I'm going to give you guys 40 seconds to come back to that. And you guys aren't even listening to me. The Martian, you're talking about Toy Story and Wall-E. Did you tell them anything about this, Steve?
Not yet, but I just asked the question in the chat room since they'll see that before they hear it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I didn't think to do that. Okay.
Sandy did.
Okay.
Brett did. So it did make news. I think it got.
Khaki Ted saw it. Okay, so here's the funny part. Or the interesting part to us, that you see the two little girls in the picture of the unicorn. Those are a friend of ours' daughters. It was one of Lindsay's bridesmaids that had that picture taken. And it was a whole family thing. All these kids were supposed to have their picture taken with the unicorn, but it was only Bridget who got to have that picture, or got their picture taken. So it was pretty funny. We liked it. By the way, Steve, you're going to have to check my typos. I've been finding typos like crazy as I'm reading here. Okay.
I may not have checked your most recent post.
No, this is Frankenstein MacBook Air.
Oh.
Yeah, that was way back. Tapes is misspelled, I think it is.
Tapes?
T-A-P. Yeah, I think I spelled it T-A-P.
Tapas?
A-P-E-S. Yeah. T-A-P-E-S. Whoa, did you guys hear that?
I didn't.
Yeah, T-A-P-S-E. Tapes. There you go. Okay, that one's fixed. Send to blog. All right, so that one's fixed. But I had something else in the what I read right before this. Is this the first thing I did? Maybe I can't. But oh, jeez.
Hello, Ada.
Hi, Ada. Okay, that time she got me. All right, so let's see. Next up, I've got. Let me preview that. All right. Okay, let me bring this in. Let's take a little break here and listen to Archimus, who have something interesting. They have 360-degree audio, which is what they want to pair with companies that have 360-degree video. And it's kind of an interesting idea because, you know, you're fooled a lot more by sound than you are by visuals. So let's have a listen to Archimus in an interview we did at CES. You know, why did that start way over there? It was a big gap, I think. And had steak and a Moscow Mule, thanks to Steve. Let's take a little bit long, in my opinion. Pull those together. Okay, that looks better to me. All right, we need to add a track. And that'll be our CES track. And here we go. Archimus. Okay, go away. Priceless. Oh, they're laughing at the cat. Little vermin. They really feel like vermin. I mean, I feel like we've got an infestation of sorts. That they're adorable, but they're high impact. All right, let's hear that audio, see how that sounds. And to Archimus in an interview we did at CES. All right, everybody's all about 360 video, you know, immersive, all that. But you guys are taking a different angle looking at audio. So I'm with Frederic Amadou from Archimus.
Yeah, so yes, you're right. Most of the time we are talking.
The French were everywhere. All right, why did I need a hub to manage my videos? All right, hub. My photos, I mean. All right. Dog have masters, cats have employees. That's what they say. All right. Let me listen to the very end of that.
That's it. Yeah, perfect.
Great. Thank you very much. It's ARKA.
Do you want to tell them what Archimus was?
Okay, just wreck that.
Oh, you were about to record?
What do you mean what Archimus was?
For the people in the chat room.
Yeah.
Listening live. Did you tell them?
I just did a recording where I said what it was.
All right. I didn't hear
So
the beginning.
you weren't okay. Even Steve does not pay attention to the woman in the corner.
Oh, the Oscars started. Sorry.
Okay. I must have missed the part where the cat pays us. That's nice. All right. Well, now you've messed me up. Dang it. Okay. Stop it. Mute yourself. Go away. They say that the first step to recovery is admitting that you have a problem. Well, I have a photos problem. I really like to take photos. I love to edit photos. I love to organize my photos, and I love to be able to find them, and I love them. They're like they're my children. I wouldn't leave them home in a box. I want to have them with me at all times so I can take them out and play with them. I bought a MacBook Pro, a Retina MacBook Pro in 2013 with a 1 terabyte SSD so that I could always have all of my photos with me. But over time, things are starting to get in the way of that. A few years ago, Bart convinced me that I should shoot RAW photos instead of JPEG. Instead of nicely compressed 2 megabyte photos, my RAW photos run around 16 megabytes apiece. I also do an audio podcast or two. You might have heard of them. And those files start to stack up in size. Somehow, NosillaCast plus Chit Chat Across the Pond is bigger than the original NosillaCast was. Each week, I create about 6 gigabytes of new files. I'm also doing screencasting for Don McAllister's Screencasts Online. The last one I did with a 3-camera shoot for AstroPad and Duet Display was 18 gigabytes when I was done. Now, I have to keep it in Dropbox to be able to get it to it from my 2 different accounts and to be able to transfer it to Don. I use Selective Sync on Dropbox, but I need these files to be visible on both accounts on my MacBook Pro, so that means that 18 gigabytes is there twice. As you might suspect, that 1 terabyte drive is getting a little bit snug these days. I set up some Hazel rules, which helped. Those move my podcast files off of my Mac and onto my Drobo once they're a couple of weeks old, and that's really helped, like I said. But the other day, I checked and I only had 26 gigabytes left. I keep hoping that maybe it's something else causing the problem. But whenever I run a tool like, say, Disk Inventory X, it's one of those programs that shows you graphically where all your disk space is wandered off to. There's always this giant box representing my photo library. At last check, it was inching up on 400 gigabytes. I do have 60,000 photos, and that'd be around 7 megabytes per photo. So if you count my old ones before I went to RAW and the new ones, it sounds like that's about right. Well, with the advent of iCloud Photo Library, I've optimized images on all my other devices, but it just seems to me it's a good idea to have the real photos somewhere in your own control and not trust Apple to have them in the cloud. You're with me there, right? So then I got to thinking, I don't actually drag my MacBook Pro around that much anymore, I should say, now that I have the 12-inch MacBook. So maybe I could think of my MacBook Pro as a desktop and hang a drive off of it. Well, Victor Cahill did a very compelling review of the My Digital SSD with wicked fast speeds. That seemed like a great option, but unfortunately, the My Digital SSD only goes up to 500 gigabytes. With a 400 gigabyte photo library right now, I'd outgrow that pretty quickly. And then I heard Andy Anatko talking about the Samsung T1 SSD with 450 megabytes per second transfer rates. This one goes up to 1 terabyte, which would work much better for me. It's not cheap at $379, but if you think back to where those prices have come from, feels like a bargain. Well, right as I was ready to hit buy on Amazon, using the SMR podcast Amazon affiliate link, because I help other podcasters, I looked at it and there was a Samsung T3. Well, the T3 has to be way better than the T1, right? I mean, it's a bigger number and everything. I did some reading on Samsung's site, and it promises the same 450 megabytes per second transfers, but unlike the T1, you can get the T3 up to 2 terabytes. But all right, even I'm not that much of a disk hog. The T3, though, has one more feature that made a difference to me. It has a USB-C port, and it comes with a USB-C to USB-A cable, so that I could still plug it into my older MacBook Pro, but it would also connect directly to my MacBook without a dongle. How cool is that? Well, there's only two downsides to the T3 from Samsung. The first is it's a smidge more money at $430. And the other thing is it's not out until the 29th of February. Now, I'm not good at waiting, but I bought it anyway. And by the time I'm telling you about this, that's actually tomorrow. So I should be getting it soon. But all of this fun has one more thing I needed before I could even get started. I had to buy a hub from Anker. I've been swapping plugs between my backup drive and my Logitech C920 camera for the past couple of years because all of the ports on my Apple Cinema display, which acts as a hub to my MacBook Pro, they're all filled up with other things. So it's really been time to get a hub for a long time. The forcing function, though, is when the T3 gets here, I'm going to need a way to keep it plugged in at all times so that CrashPlan will continue to back up my photos. See, CrashPlan supports connected and network drives. So if I can keep it connected all the time, I can keep my backups running so that I have my photos in iCloud, I have them locally, I have a local backup running, and I have my CrashPlan backup. So, I mean, come on, these are my children, remember? Well, the hub I bought is the Anker 10-port, 60-watt USB 3 version that comes with 7 data transfer ports and 3 of what they call Power IQ charging ports for mobile devices. These Power IQ ports detect your device to deliver the fastest possible charge up to 2.1 amps per port, while the remaining 7 ports charge at speeds of 0.9 amps each. You can buy cheaper hubs, but I wanted a powered hub and lots of ports, so the Anker 10-port USB hub for $38 on Amazon met my needs. Of course, I'm going to let you know how this grand experiment works out when I get the Samsung SSD. Like I said, I got the local backup, a CrashPlan backup, the photos are in iCloud. Maybe I'll put another copy on the Drobo, and then maybe I'll back up the Drobo to the other Drobo.
We lost your audio. At least I lost it. Al, I lost your audio. Al, no audio. Hold on.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so my audio is coming through, but not yours. That's interesting.
Can you hear me now?
Now we got you.
That is the Shure MVI again.
Uh-oh.
But audio is coming through the wrong port now. Hang on, I want to be able to hear. So that happened right
as you finished. You've also fixed the display on me.
You also what?
I think the display is fixed on me.
No,
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
But I have another problem. The audio is coming out of my display, This is nice. Why would that have happened right as I stopped? Well, that's weird. Output. Okay. That's really weird why that worked. Talk to me again, Steve.
All right, testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I don't understand what's going on. Amadeus Pro is coming out of my headphones, but when you talk, it is not coming out of my headphones. So I'm gonna change this and hit save. I need to change it back. Okay, now talk to me.
Testing 1, 2, 3
Yep.
for the NosillaCastaways.
All right, that is so weird.
All back to normal?
Yep. I don't know why I have to keep plugging and unplugging this thing. And if I unplug, I don't have any choice. I have to use the hub.
Was it behaving this way before you got the new hub?
I believe it was.
All right.
We could do some experiments, but it's so intermittent. I don't know how to tell.
All right, after the podcast.
Yeah. All right. Let me see how that intersection worked. They say so. They say that I don't like that. There we go. They say that the first step to recover. All right. Should have put some sort of explanation after the end of that, but I'm not going to. All right. Preview that was the hub. So what's next? Preview. Where am I now? The Meg. Okay, this is okay. Next up, we're going to talk to a company called Mag Target, and they've got an iPhone mount / charger that has some interesting technology that I had never seen before. Okay, that isn't going to be right. Go to the other Drobo. It sounds great, doesn't it? You like that?
Oops, that's not good. Is that the recording, the raw recording, or is that?
That's my raw recording.
Do you want me to see if I can recover that?
No. That's me live having recorded what you just heard me record.
Oh.
Yep, that's the Shure MVI screwing up. This happened when I was talking to Bart. Let me try right here. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, something wrong. Testing 1, 2. It's like it's getting sampled.
Have you powered it down and back up?
I think it gets power via USB. I'm gonna try it again. You're gonna lose audio. It's not ideal.
Your sound is back?
It is. Okay. I'll fix the monitor in a second. I may have to reboot to fix this. Let me try it again. And we're recording 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Sounds good here.
No, it doesn't. It's not gonna sound good.
Oh, the recording. That's not so good.
Nope. And I don't think it is. I'll quit and restart Amadeus Pro, but I don't think that's it. I think I'm gonna.
Uh-oh.
Pieces of it. The waveform looks fine, except for the fact that most of it's missing. This is fun. Talk about the sausage getting made. You may have to entertain them for a little while I reboot.
Well, maybe I could talk about the Oscars.
Yeah, do an Oscar play-by-play. And we have Steve Sheridan doing Oscar play-by-play. All right, I'm testing again. Actually, that might have fixed it. That looks better. Let's take a look. Yes, I think that did fix it. Whoop, not there. It's supposed to be way out here. All right, I'm testing it. Yep, that fixed it. Huh. Well, that's good. Let's see. We want to be way up. Well, that's good. Let's see. Oh, now I need to fix the display. Hang on 1 second here. So display audio, I'm going to set it to display audio, which is not what I want. And then I'm going to ask it back. It's really janky, you know? I have to fiddle with this. Okay, talk to me, Steve.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
Great. By the way, have you guys noticed you can hear Steve? Isn't that exciting?
I've always been able to hear me.
What did I just finish talking about? I don't remember anymore. The other Drobo. That was too dramatic. That ending. Let's fix that. It's stupid. Maybe I'll put another copy on the Drobo. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe I'll put a copy. I could put another copy on the Drobo, and then I could back that Drobo up to another Drobo. Do you think that'd be enough backups? Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, next we're going to talk to Mag Target about an iPhone mount / charger that's an interesting technology that I hadn't seen before that they hope to get into some more cases and things in the future. So let's take a listen to Mag Target. By the way, I'm not going to do Bixby. I thought Bixby was stupid.
Okay, so that recording is okay?
Yeah, I will play a little bit of it. Some more cases and things. Yeah, the nice thing is I can see it.
Oh, good.
It happened at the end of a Skype call with Bart one time. Like it was fine, and we were chatting at the end, and all of a sudden he heard that. It's
Didn't
very
I get
strange.
that for you for Christmas?
What?
That
Bixby?
No. The device that's failing.
Yeah, you did. So, yeah. I could try it. Well, I don't have a way of not using it through the hub now. I've got too much crap. Well, we'll see. We'll do some diagnostics.
Clean show.
All right, here we go. Sorry. I'm not recorded. Oh, what is Bixby? Bixby is a thing for waving your hand in front of an iPad so that you can control it. And the whole use case appeared to be when you're cooking, your hands are slimy. It's kind of silly. Let's take a listen to Mag Target.
I'm with Jean-Michel in the Mag Target.
All right. Actually, I should check each one of these and make sure they are what you say. I remember last time you had a couple that weren't. I think he said this was not available yet.
Very cool. And would they go to magtarget.com by chance?
That's it.
Magtarget.com.
After that, of course, as many as you want, right, around the house.
Very cool. And would they go to matches to the phone?
For those two pieces, it's $29.95. You can get started with it.
Oh.
Okay. I can cook without waving my hands. Have you tried Paprika? Paprika is a really cool app for the iPad and for the Mac, and it does a couple of really cool little things, like it stays on all the time, so you don't have to wake the iPad up, which is what always happens when you've got like eggs on your hand or something. So anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. All right. Well, I thought that was a pretty cool innovation. Well, about 4 years ago, my son-in-law Nolan bought Lindsay a webcam from a company called Fosscam so that she could watch her dog Dodger while she was at work. She followed the instructions to set it up to a wired Ethernet connection, and it worked perfectly. From her Mac or her iPhone, she could control the camera, move it around, and watch the room. The only problem was that her router isn't in the area where Dodger hangs out during the day. No problem. The Fosscam is supposed to work wirelessly as well, but for some reason, she could never get it to work. Over the years, every once in a while, she would ask me to poke around at it, and I would give up. I think the last time I looked at it, we found a note about it was November of 2014. But this week, we went to see them again and decided to attack it full force. I started with a wired connection so we could take it one step at a time. Like I said, it had been ages since we played with it, so I had to download some stuff from scratch from the website. The first was an app that would basically just tell us the IP address of the device. You open the IP camera tool, and the one IP address would be shown on the internal network that would be your camera. Lindsay was on an Airport Extreme, so it was the IP was 10.0.1.5. Next, they said to enter that IP address into a web browser, and it asked us for the username and password. Like any good webcam, the username was admin and the password was blank. Oh, good grief. No wonder you can scan the internet and watch other people's children on their webcams. Anyway, the interface did suggest a password change, but it A, didn't force me to do it, and B, it didn't tell me how to do it. But I dug around and I found a menu called Users, and in there I was able to change the admin password. Interestingly, this webcam software from Foscam also allows you to add more users and restrict their access to read-only, not admin. Kind of a cool feature. Anyway, once I had a password in place, I was able to control the Foscam with my Mac from the from my Mac with the camera on Ethernet, but Lindsay had that working earlier, so we hadn't really made progress. I figured there must be somewhere in the camera settings where I'd have to tell it about Lindsay's wireless network. When I found that section, I realized why the Wi-Fi settings had never worked for her. Have you guessed it already? It's the same thing that trips me up every time we talk about Internet of Things devices being janky on a network. Just like the Wemos, the Nest, the Rings we've talked about, the Foscam was looking for a dedicated 2.4 gigahertz network, and Lindsay's Airport Extreme was set to combine the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands, which is the default behavior. As soon as I separated the two bands by giving them different names, the Foscam was up and running. Lindsay was so happy. Well, the next trick to figure out was how to access the Foscam from outside the network. I figured this would be a port forwarding thing, and I was right. I was able to go into the Airport Extreme settings, open a port, and assign it to the internal IP of the camera. Next, I used ipchicken.com to find out her IP address. I know there's other tools, but I just really like having a chicken answer that question. Now, to get her webcam available from the outside the network, she simply has to go to her IP address in a web browser, followed by a colon, and then the port number. The good news is that it queries us for the username and password. I love how geeky Lindsay is. As soon as she connected that way, she added it to her home screen on her iPhone. The only thing left to do was to document everything I did using Clarify from clarify-it.com. Bet you for a thought I forgot about that and I never use it. I still use it all the time. Anyway, I made her a beautiful PDF with annotated images and explanations along the way. I put in a troubleshooting section because I know her IP address will eventually change and that will confuse things. I know there's ways around that, and I probably should have set up a static IP for the camera on her internal network too, but I had restarted their router and changed things so many times while I was there, causing them to have to reacquire the network on their Macs, their iPhones, their TiVo, their Apple TV. Maybe I should just leave that exercise for next time. I am left with one lingering question. In theory, routers like Apple's Airport Extreme combine the 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz bands by default into one name so that you don't have to mess around with assigning devices to different networks. They're supposed to just find the best network they can use. So why on earth do none of these Internet of Things devices ever find the 2.4 gigahertz band unless I spoon feed it to them? All right, so we've got a mess up to find. Where did I do that? Looks like it's right here. What's wrong?
You're not in the chat room anymore? You got kicked out or something?
Oh, look at that. You know, I saw something change. How do I get back in? Nice. We're having fun now. Saw something change out of the corner of my eye. I just saw something blink and it was all of your names disappearing. That was fun. All right, you almost distracted me, Steve, from fixing that boo-boo I made here. Let's have a listen. Come on. Restrict their access to read-only, not admin. Kind of a cool feature. Anyway, once I had a password in place, I was able to control the Foscam with my Mac from the So that's a little trick, what you just heard me do. If you're ever recording and you make a boo-boo, just stop and don't say anything for a couple seconds, and then start back up with the last known good thing that you want to say. And then if you do that stop, you can actually, if you are blessed with the gift of sight, you can actually see the dead spot. So it's really easy to find it. So there, I just fixed that goof up that I did.
Or record the time.
What's that?
Or record the time.
Yeah, but that doesn't help. I actually did look at the clock. It said 1:58. The time is actually 24:38 because it was 1:58 into that segment.
That's what I mean, the time into the recording.
Yeah, but that doesn't help me because when I've got it in the timeline, well, you're saying to record the full, yeah, I don't know what that time was. That's not what was visible to me. And that also means stopping and writing down with a pencil, which is what I do when I'm on the call with somebody if there's a mess up. But when I'm doing it on my own, I have to keep going. I can't just be stopping, Steve. Yeah, we're having fun tonight, huh? All right, where are we? I didn't mean to do that. Okay, good. What's next? I think we're almost done. Where are the show notes? Okay, it's not that one. I got so much stuff open. Didn't need that one. Okay, preview. There we go. All right, what do we got left? All right. So what was cool about this last 3D printer, Steve? This was because it was more for home. It was quiet and everything.
Right.
Okay.
And they're also donating significant amounts of money to schools.
Oh, they are?
Yes. I think he says it in the interview towards the end.
All right. Next up, we're going to hear from New Matter, and they're going to be talking about their Mod T 3D printer. You might be thinking, oh, it's just another 3D printer, but this one is really cool because it's a home printer that's really quiet, and this is a company with a conscience. Let's listen to New Matter. All right, we're still recording okay. Let's see how that sounds. Unless I spoon feed it to them. Next up, we're going to hear, okay, I'm hungry. What's for dinner tonight, Steve?
Take a guess.
Chicken.
You got it.
And zucchini with onions?
Yep.
Yum. Let's listen to New Matter. Wait, why did you stop? I spoon feed it to them. Next up, we're going to hear from New Matter, and they're going to be with a conscience. Why do you keep stopping? Let's listen to New Matter.
The maker movement is just on fire right now, but these things are too expensive.
Can we have one of these? I want a 3D printer. Let's get one and print something. No? All right.
Well, you had a thumbs up at the end of the video.
Did I?
Because you asked the same question.
Oh, did I really?
Yes.
Let's see.
I need one of these, Steve. Can I have one? All right. Thank you very much, Steve.
Terrific. Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Okay, that's pretty funny. All right, in the live chat, I just asked the same question. I asked Steve if I could have one, and he reminded me that what you couldn't hear in that interview was that I said, can I have one of these? He gave me a thumbs up. So I guess we're going to go get one. That would be really, really fun. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com. You can follow me on Twitter @podfeet. If you want to get involved and have some fun together like the people have been over on Facebook, you can go to podfeet.com/Facebook to join that group there, or you can go over to our Google Plus community at podfeet.com/Google Plus. Lots of fun, lots of people playing around together and get a lot of great information. So head on over there and join in the fun. You can also go to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. That's what you get for winging it. So video prototype 3D house printer. 'Twas awesome. Hey, my birthday's coming up.
It was nice meeting you.
All right. In the live chat, I just asked the same question. All right. We are good. I got 6 minutes to finish the show. So where is let's see, I got to go back to the front and get my music. So it's funny how short the show is when there's no chit chat. Okay. We're going to say tracks. Oh, Steve, I didn't bug people about giving me money.
Next week.
I didn't say, I did make one crack about the, that I said I supported the SMR podcast with their Amazon affiliate link, right?
Yeah.
Okay, live chat people, don't forget the Amazon affiliate link there. Good. Okay. Fantastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. All right. All right, guys, we are a wrap. I am ready to bounce document to new file. So I'm going to let you guys go. We'll let you guys out of school 5 minutes early because you've got the Oscars to go watch, some pasta to make according to Mark. And I hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you again next week. Bye. Say goodbye, Steve. They can't hear you.
Goodbye, Gracie.